And welcome back to episode 99 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Carl.
Oh, 99. So close to the magical 100. So close.
What are we going to do for the 100? Are we doing anything special?
Yes, plans are underway. Cough.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, I've got to think about that one. Yeah. Yes. Let's get back to that. No, well, technically speaking, should be, isn't it? 52 weeks in a year. So, episode 104.
Oh, maybe. 100 just sounds like a magical number.
It does, and we have been doing this for nearly 100 episodes. I know we keep saying that, but I think we're just shocked that we're still here and you're still listening. So thank you very much for that. Those that are still left behind, perhaps you've got no other podcast to listen to, or you're unsure how to remove it from your downloads. Either way, we salute you. Thank you. So, how you doing, Carl?
Yeah, it's cool at the moment. It won't be later, so we're doing an early morning podcast today.
Yes, recording has commenced at different times, as you say, because it is slightly warm. In fact, quite frankly, I would like to get out there and do a rain dance. I think it is about time to have some of the wet stuff falling from the sky.
It's very, very dry here.
It is exceptionally dry, isn't it? I just... Who knows? I'm sure, climate change is not a fraud, But anyway, we digress. So this week we have got a mixed bag of stories for you. We've got VR, we've got chips, we've got a big bug from an MDM vendor who I thought had gone, but still apparently there. Apple are back, but not with the news you thought they were back with. We've got some acquisitions, we've got some VR, AR headset news, and of course the rumor mill is back with some information on the M1 Mac Pro, which, yes, we'll take that with a pinch of salt when we get there. But let's kick off then at the first story of the week, which is another Meta acquisition. Oh dear.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, I mean, this one happened before Giphy, didn't it?
It did.
I think. Possibly. Anyway, so I think we talked about back in January, the FTC kind of began an investigation into Meta's $400 million acquisition of a company called Within, and they make get fit software for VR headsets, so you can jump around your room and get fit while wearing a headset you can't see out of. I'm not convinced by that one, but they've done quite successfully enough for Meta to spend $400 million on them. Well, so the FTC have now filed a lawsuit in San Francisco, basically to grant temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction to block the actual acquisition processes going forward any further. And this is all the kind of anti-competitive stuff, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, that the Within, I have to say, I kind of was like, I remember these guys, like you say, I kind of had to, go back to where we'd seen them. And you're right, their tagline is extraordinary stories in virtual reality, isn't it? Which is their tagline, if you will. They do. I mean, they said they've got the fitness there, but they have got some, some interesting little games down there.
Okay.
There's, the Lego Batman Batmersive Experience. There's Rapid Fire, the brief history of flight, amongst other things. But then again, there's other kind of storytelling ones. There's VR documentaries, that kind of stuff. So it's a different kind of experience, I think, to the pure fitness piece. But you're right. I think from this point of view, this is definitely another anti-competitive angle, isn't it? As you say, the FTC.
Yeah, I mean. The FTC is obviously saying it kind of lessens competition, create a monopoly, etc., etc. So it is the usual stuff, leading to lower quality, higher prices, less incentive to attract and keep employees, etc. So, Meta aren't obviously too happy with this. Their statement wasn't great. They're basically saying the FTC's case is based on ideology and speculation without evidence. The idea that this acquisition would lead to anti-competitive outcomes in a dynamic space with as much entry and growth as online and connected fitness is simply not credible. By attacking this deal in a 3-2 vote, the FTC is sending a chilling message to anyone who wishes to innovate in VR. We are confident that our acquisition of Within will be good for people, developers, and the VR space. Well, of course, they would say that.
Well, of course they would. And I don't think for a second to say that that's attacking, any VR developers.
No.
Not at all. I think what they're
trying to say
Meta. It's actually trying to say, actually, you can't just swallow up everybody because that helps your business. Now, M&A, mergers and acquisitions is a staple of the tech industry. We're well aware of that. And sometimes, to be quite fair, especially the companies that you and I work for, sometimes it is much easier to splash a cash and buy another organization than try and
Then
build
build it.
something, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
and that's sometimes handy if you're trying to compete. When there's a product that sits in between you and your competitor that has perhaps niche capabilities, and you get there first. But I don't necessarily see this. I think this is Meta trying to hoover up all of the really good VR companies to kind of stuff into this metaverse. What do you call it? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's
catalog.
not like Meta hasn't been anti-competitive and monopolistic before.
Well, I was going to say, if it if
They've
it
got some
looks like a
history.
if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. Uh, you know,
Chances are it's a duck.
Chances are the duck. And that's the same release. The same kind of release point in the if it's anti-competitive and you've been anti-competitive, then you're probably going to be anti-competitive again. So
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think the FTC have got good cause here.
I think they have as
Whether
well.
they'll block it or not, and again, maybe it'll be another company actions they have to unwind. I don't know.
Well, yes, unwinding is yes, that's another point. But we haven't actually seen any real unwinding happen yet, have we? Though.
Well, no, we saw it start, didn't we, with Giphy, and then I don't. Where we were at, it's on pause at the moment, isn't it?
Paused. Yeah, the unwinding has paused.
It has paused. It's mid unwind, and
Mid
yeah,
unwind.
it's
Yeah,
currently being appealed. I think.
definitely so. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay then. Well, let's take a slightly different tack then and talk about the chip business. Of course, a subject that we rarely talk about these days. Of course, shortage. What shortage? But Intel has made another strategic, what's the word? Partnership. I think it's the right way to look.
Partnership, yeah.
Where this time with MediaTek, who you may recall, we were talking about MediaTek some months ago, wasn't it? Around the release of
Yeah, they
their
brought out their new mobile chip, hadn't they?
that was their mobile chip, which wasn't too bad actually, was it? If you remember, it was quite
It looked
impressive. Given
competitive.
you're right, given the other players in the market, Qualcomm and Samsung, it was quite a competitive chip. Well, it looks like then that Intel now are moving forward with their plans to become the sort of fab and chip manufacturer of choice, haven't they? They are trying to broaden their horizons, as Pat Gelsinger stated when he came in. They don't want to just make their own chips; they want to be that big
Make
player,
everyone
haven't they?
else's.
And
Yeah.
they have signed a deal with MediaTek based out of Taiwan. Unsurprisingly, it does seem to be the place to build chips. And so they are going to sign a deal with Intel's Foundry Services, which is
Yep.
going to allow them to produce chips in the future, and also give MediaTek I guess manufacturing bases outside of Taiwan. So typically,
Definitely.
that's been the hubs, but now they're looking, aren't they, to outside the US. And Intel have got where is it? Columbus, I think, was in my notes. Columbus, Ohio, wasn't it? Was one of
Yeah.
The first fabs that's going to be opening, and then we've got Austin and other places coming online in the next few years. But I think this is a really good deal for MediaTek. But I can't help
It
but wonder.
is.
There's two sides to this. I think there's obviously MediaTek. It gives them more global footprint. I think, as they stated themselves, didn't they?
Yeah.
It allows them to increase their production values and output. But I wonder whether or not this is also safeguarding some of the production if the situation in Taiwan gets any worse, given what happened with Pelosi the other week, in that trip over. I wonder whether or not this is also kind of a more strategic, long-term thing. Now,
I
granted,
imagine so.
this would bring discussion way before that happened, but you
It
can't
would
help
have
but
done.
think
Yeah.
that might have just kind of added additional urgency. But I don't know.
And I imagine it was a play for some of that. The US just introduces it the
Chips Act. Yes, great.
So there's a lot of money flirting around at the moment. I'm sure there was some incentives, but I was actually reading into this a bit more, and it's not actually for phone chips.
No,
Which you kind of suspect it is, and they've apparently already got a relationship with Intel, who are making their 5G data cards for them, whatever that is. So there's new partnership is for smart edge devices.
Yeah, this is definitely it's building on
This is
that.
more your networking side,
public,
This is your 5G networking side rather than the actual phone chips themselves. But I mean, I think it's good all round. It's good for MediaTek. It's good for us. There's supplies come from different parts of the world now, and not all out of just Taiwan and China. It's a win for Intel, and they need a win after the mess of the Arc launch. So it's good news.
It does. I mean, and that Chips Act is a really good point. I think just to kind of hover on that for a minute, and I scribbled some notes down. So that Chips Act, which was signed on the 9th, so a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
is just shy of $53 billion in subsidies for US semiconductor production and also research across the United States.
Yeah.
this is really, really a massive push for the US to decouple itself, isn't it, from the Asian
Yep.
chip manufacturing? Now, obviously, not Asian companies. That's very clear about that. But the reliance on the production facilities that are outside the US, and there was, I think, one of the things that was stated in that bill when it signed, there was kind of a press release from the White House that said that there had already been new agreements, including Qualcomm, who had agreed to buy an additional $4 billion in chips from Global Foundries' New York factory,
Mm.
bringing a commitment of nearly 7.5 billion through to the end of the decade.
Wow.
So they're already kind of bringing out the big guns. Oh look, we've got this. So yeah, this but. Look, it is great, and the EU is doing something very similar, isn't it? We've seen that,
They are,
the
yeah.
deals with the EU, but this is not a short-term solution or a quick fix.
Nope.
This is a very much a long play, because you can't. We said before, you can't spin up a foundry. It's not something you can build. Right, we're going to build a foundry. We'll have it up and running. Foundries take years to design and build, don't they? To get all the
Yeah.
equipment in to prepare the manufacturing stuff. I guess there's so much that goes into building a fab that you're talking minimum of 5 years from I guess breaking ground to bringing chips in production. I can't see it being much quicker than that, really.
No. So all these are long-term gains, but hopefully, as you say, 4 or 5 years, we'll have a bit more of a diverse chip supply.
And maybe we won't be talking shortages.
No, maybe it was cheap as chips.
That's bad. That's usually
my
me.
dad joke in there. That's my
Yeah,
dad joke.
that's usually me. Oh god. Okay, well, from chips then to bugs. Maybe we could have done probably a better segue there.
Yeah. Right. Well, this next story is one that's close to our hearts. Having both worked for MDM companies in the past, and for our listeners that don't know what MDM is, it's a mobile device management. So basically, it's software you install on your corporate mobile device, if it's a phone, a tablet, a laptop, etc., that allows you to configure the device, secure it, remotely wipe corporate data, etc. So this company, FileWave, and I must admit, I didn't realize they were still going, but apparently they are. They've just announced they've fixed a number of vulnerabilities in their MDM software that can allow a remote attacker to bypass authentication, take full control of the system and all connected devices. Ouch.
So when I saw the story in the notes, like exactly like you did, I was like, FileWave, I know those guys. Why do I know FileWave? And you kind of tip of your tongue. I'm like, and then of course I did a little bit of research. It's like, God, they're still around. And she say, yeah, so they do MDM. They're one of the earlier players, if I recall.
They
I
were,
think,
yeah.
they're really early doors, MDM. But yeah, nasty little bugs there, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, and the security firm that announced this, Clarity,
Yes.
at the time of publishing, said there were at least 1,100 FileWave servers exposed to the internet, each with an unknown number of devices enrolled. And having worked for kind of competitors, from experience, that number could be 10 mobile devices. It could be 1.5, 2 million devices.
Yep.
Those are kind of the customer ranges we were dealing with on a single instance. So there are 1,100 of those. We could be talking a fair number of devices. But you read through this and the actual CVs, you think, again? Basically, it comes down to a case of hard-coded credentials again. I think was it only last week we're talking about a vulnerability of hard
I was just going to say, it's like, yes, we've been here before.
Well, in this particular case, it was the scheduler service running on the server. Basically, the scheduler service is a bit that, schedules a little bit. It sends out schedules, commands to check in, to install software, etc., etc. But yeah, that was using a hard-code shared secret to authenticate to the web server. However, that shared secret doesn't change between MDM installations nor between versions of the software. So if you knew that one shared secret, you had access to every single FileWave instance that was exposed to the internet, at least, or you could get access to.
And the other CV, wasn't it, which was the other vulnerability was an authentication bypass vulnerability, which, according to the research team, was similar to one that F5 recently had in their web application firewall, wasn't it? So a similar bypass flaw that they could be done. But both of these together, I mean, that's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
I mean,
but again,
basically, they gave you that ability, didn't they? They gave you basically total control. So you'd be able to exfiltrate sensitive data from the devices, usernames, email addresses, IP addresses, locations, and install malicious software on those devices. Basically, anything you wanted to do.
And again, though, but it's just this comes back. This is and I've kind of been like the cynic in me is like again, we all talk about SaaS, don't we? Everybody
Yeah.
talks about SaaS and move to SaaS, but again, this just comes back to unsecured and badly configured SaaS instances, and not by the customer, is it? This is this is for the back end.
But this isn't even a SaaS problem. Hard code credentials have
Well,
been a
no,
problem
well,
since
yeah.
the beginning of development.
Well, yeah, that's the first issue, I guess. And you're
Yeah.
right. Then we have the
Yeah.
authentication bit. But yeah, again, hard coded. Yeah, very, 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 very fair point. Given that hard coded piece, I just, why would you do it? I mean, it was Atlassian was the one last week we talked about.
Yeah, that was
You know,
it. Yeah.
and now we're seeing it with FileWave, who slightly different organization. I'm pretty confident these days that Atlassian is probably much bigger than them.
Oh,
But
definitely. Yeah.
again, it's just lazy development, isn't it? It's just lazy
It is.
development.
And poor quality control. So,
And
okay,
also
mistakes happen. You put in a hard-coded one just to test it out, but then you should go back and remove that when it goes to production code. But also QA, quality checking, should have picked this up that it's hard-code credentials.
but then today we all talk about DevOps, don't we? The emergement of development and operations, to ensure there's the whole piece in the compute pipeline. But also there's DevSecOps today, which is introduction of bringing security into the development process. But clearly they don't have either of those in place. If they do, it's not implemented properly, because surely security at this stage, especially when you're dealing with the kind of management software you have here, it's a great example of security should be factored in at that development stage all the way through that pipeline to mitigate issues like this. But yeah, bad QAing. I'm sorry to say it, and I don't mean to be kind of harsh here, but you can't be slapping hard-coded credentials when you have platforms that are managing client devices and client
on their security platforms.
Yeah, it's a complete hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you said, the dropping malware. Didn't the researchers drop some fake malware on some devices?
They did. Yeah. They said there's some fake ones. Yeah, just to prove a point. Yeah.
Oh, good. And there's never a day that goes by, is there, where there isn't another breach or just another security issue. And I know that researchers talk about. I can't remember what the stat is, but I think within the next so many years that there's going to be a high percentage of security issues are going to be human error as opposed to criminal activity. Obviously a criminal will exploit it, but the reason the error exists wasn't that you were hacked, but there's somebody just made a mistake, hard coded.
They're not highly advanced, sophisticated nation state attacks that require hundreds of thousands of people to do. It's just stupidity in the development stage.
Yeah. It's going to be like, did you mean to leave the key in the door? No. I'm sorry. That's why the warehouse is empty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no. Oh, dear. FileWave, you got to fix it.
Oh. Anyway, talking of mobile devices.
Yes.
We're on to a story, our first story about Apple. So they've made another large purchase. But this time it's not a company. They bought HP's old 67-acre inkjet research lab in Rancho Bernardo, San Diego, for a cool $445 million.
I was just like, when I read this, I was like, Apple bought HP. I was skimming the notes, and I first saw Apple bought HP.
HP.
What? Like, how the hell was that so quiet?
No, they're old property.
Yeah, so the Rancho Vista Corporate Center, 67-acre piece there, and they paid a cool $440 million for it, didn't they? So
the 445.
But it appears to be Apple kind of consolidating their offices across the San Diego County area.
Yeah.
They've got quite a few different offices there, and apparently they're looking to add, aren't they, across over 1,000 new jobs in the region around hardware and software.
Well, up to 5,000 by 2026. They were saying.
Yeah. But it's part of that. But
so,
I mean,
development of Apple aren't bringing out a printer. This is meant to be apparently for the development of their in-house modem and other wireless engineering work.
Oh well, and you've got to spread it out. They were already doing stuff there, weren't they? And Qualcomm,
they were,
also based in San Diego.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting, given the whole modem issue that Qualcomm and Apple had.
I'll poach the staff, I imagine.
And Apple, of course, are moving to produce their own 5G modems. We talked about that in a previous show, didn't we, around the move across from that. But no, this is quite
Yeah.
interesting. I was kind of like say intrigued by the inkjet research piece and the pictures that were on the oh, what's the word? The
The
I
article.
can't. Thank you. That's actually, I was like, brain was like, what word am I looking for here? Yes, the article of like inkjet research lab at HP and all these rolls of paper, wasn't it? And like engineers.
Mm.
But then I was like, $440 million for this campus. I mean, surely though that must be the cost just to fill up a HP inkjet printer these days, isn't it?
I think
It's
it might
like,
well be.
I mean, the cost of
Not
inkjet.
cheap.
Good God! I mean, but who's using one of them? But no, very cool. But yeah, Apple moving away from the traditional Cupertino area, though. Given the pandemic and the launch of the spaceship or the donut, whatever it's called these days, Apple Campus,
Yep.
there can't be that many people there because of the big hoo ha about everybody returning to work.
Oh no, yeah, I think it's kind of half empty the donut.
Yeah,
Well,
but if you live in San
yeah,
Diego, now you've got a nice new Apple office to go to, or we'll have soon at least.
well, yeah, exactly.
But I did think that I did make me chuckle though, like I say with the old HP thing, because I know Steve Jobs was a big fan of the founders of HP.
Yep.
And in his biographies, it's talked about how he met them and talked to them. So I think if Apple bought HP, it would be offer. Saying that though, I don't think actually there's anything left of HP they want because it's HP Enterprise and HPE these days, which isn't really
Yeah, I
HP
can't see
anymore,
any
is it?
synergies there, can you?
No, but ironically, Apple Park is the former home of Hewlett Packard's original campus in Silicon Valley.
So they're like, we need some more property. Like, give the
Yeah,
HP a call. What
yeah,
you selling?
yeah. Just a kind of a random fact to throw in there, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, very cool. Nice to see a different story about not Apple doing other stuff,
Yeah.
and circumventing laws, breaking things. Now this is a slightly different story. Occasionally we will feature. It's not all about lawsuits, is it?
No. Yeah. So next up, we've got another potential acquisition, haven't we? This
This
time
one's
of
interesting.
Ubisoft. By Tencent, China's largest tech company, I think they are.
I think they are now. Yeah.
Yeah, so they already own 5%, and they bought that back in 2018. But apparently looking to gobble up some of the 60% stake that are held by the Guillemot family, who co-founded and still run the business. So Tencent's goal is to become the kind of single largest shareholder of Ubisoft. Yeah, they are they are smashing the cash. They're offering $102 a share, which is considerably more than the $43 they were worth at the time of the offer.
Yeah, I am intrigued by this because talking about acquisitions, talking around the kind of deals we've had, is Tencent going to be allowed to do this? Not the initial buyout they're doing now. I'm talking like they kind of plan to buy the whole lot out.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, my notes say 80% of Ubisoft is publicly owned. So Tencent are not just trying to buy Guillemot's the family's share; they're also open to acquiring shares elsewhere. And I think at $102 a share as opposed to 43, some people are going to take them up on that one.
Yeah, it's, as you say, Tencent are huge. They're trying to expand their footprint. They are, trying to, I guess, move away from Chinese holdings, but given with the crackdowns that we've seen there across, many organizations, so it's a
Yep.
smart move, isn't it, to expand outside? But are the Ubisoft shareholders going to be happy to see a large Chinese company? And again, in no way am I trying to be xenophobic or anything. I'm talking from a point of view of what we've seen with other Western organizations being bought out by
Yep.
Chinese companies. Is that going to be taken lightly?
And,
I'm pretty confident. Tencent have got good history here. They're buying up a lot of games companies, haven't we? We talked about that as well.
Yeah, and that's it. China are cracking down on games in general. So that's obviously going to be hurting Tencent's their profits. Hence, they want to diversify into Western markets and try and make some money there.
And they've got huge ownership. They bought
They have.
a lot. I mean, when you go onto Wikipedia and you look at the list of studios that they own, there's some big old names in there. There's they own Funcom, did Age of Conan, didn't they? There's Turtle Rock Studios. There's who has Epic Games. They own 40% of Epic. You know, just for a quick reminder, they own nearly 10% of Frontier.
Blimey.
People as Bohemia, they've got minority stakes in Bohemia Interactive. They've got undisclosed stakes in Discord, Roblox, and who was the other one that jumped out at me? That obviously, there was Remedy and Paradox, nearly 5%.
Activision Blizzard, 5%. Well, they did.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people there who I hadn't kind of thought. So they've got massive investments. So this isn't, I wouldn't take this with a kind of a, well, what are they buying it? This is for them a calculated move, given the history they have there. But yeah, I think they're gonna want to move here or take it. But is it a bad thing? Probably not. To be fair, it's not like they haven't been investing others. We're seeing good games come out from other studios there. So. But it is an aggressive move, though, isn't it? Given that there is still that the family element who own
they don't want to give up. They want to keep a controlling stake, but obviously, Tencent have gone round the back door for this, aren't they? A kind of hostile takeover, I imagine.
But you took the words exactly what I was just going to say. This is hostile takeover. This is not a polite kind of. I'd like to buy some shares.
Well, I imagine they started with that one, but got pushed back a lot of times. So gone, fine, we'll just do it a different way.
This is more case of we'll come around the back door and sell us your shares. Here's a nice wad of cash. Thanks very much. And off we trot.
Yeah,
but will it go ahead? Probably. Will they become probably a larger shareholder yet? Will they be able to buy it out 100%? I think that will probably be a hard sell to the rest of the...
I reckon they might get controlling stake.
Very
5 to 16% isn't that hard when you're offering double the share price, I imagine, especially since 80% of the shares are publicly owned.
Yeah, and like you say, that's going to talk, isn't it? And there are going to be a lot of shareholders there who are going to think, that's a pretty good return. I can have that.
Yeah, definitely. More than double.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. If you're
at the current price, depending on what they bought them for, it might be a considerable, uptick.
Very much so. Yeah. Who knows? We could see Tencent them becoming, the owner of Ubisoft anytime soon. The Ubisoft themselves need to pull the finger out, quite frankly, in a few areas, as we recently discovered with the release of Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is the game from 2017.
On Game Pass, didn't they?
Game Pass, thank you. And so 2017 came out, and a bit like Breakpoint, which was the successor, released on Game Pass now. And we went to play it, didn't we, to have the multiplayer aspect, only to discover that all of the Ubisoft servers were unavailable.
Yeah, basically everything been offline since it was released on Game Pass. Apparently they didn't see that people might actually install it and want to play it. I think I gave it a quick go yesterday and they seem to be online again. How long for, I don't know. I couldn't get to the store. I could only get to the online game part. So still not fully up and running.
Excellent. Well, my co-host here, my four-legged co-host, doesn't want to be in the office to do the recording here. So I'm just going to give me 2 seconds. I just need to release the hounds, as it were. Hold on a second. Right. Yep. Sorry about that. As I said, the four-legged fiend did not want to be here. So, it's what you can't get the staff these days.
It's all right. It's all right.
So, talking about acquisitions and selling then, this story broke last week, just before we were recording. So, we didn't fit it into the show notes. But Thoma Bravo, who are a large investment firm, who we have mentioned many times before, have now acquired Ping Identity, haven't they?
They have.
For, what was it? Just shy of $3 billion US.
$2.8 billion. So that's on the tail of what their purchaser sale point.
Thank you. Yeah, which is April.
For $6.9 billion. So they are on a mission to buy Identity. Really?
Well, they are indeed, and this is great news for Ping Identity. They've great acquisition. Thoma Bravo have got many investments, as you say. The sale point one, is pretty good. I did see a very funny post on LinkedIn, as they're saying that congratulations, Sale Point have just acquired a new logo, which I thought was very funny. But when I was looking at Thoma Bravo, because familiar with who they are as an investment company, I didn't realise quite how many large firms that I was aware of they bought. So they have got a lot of companies, but here's a few ones. So they've got Anaplan, who, if you're familiar with them, from kind of, commission plans and forecasting, IT companies. Barracuda.
Barracuda Networks,
Bomgar.
Yes, yeah.
Dynatrace.
Oh, wow.
Blue Coat.
CompuWare.
Yeah, Blue Coat, Entrust, Imperva,
Wow.
Flex Era,
Oh, Highland.
yeah, McAfee,
Yep.
Veracode, SolarWinds, Click,
Oh,
Sonic Wall.
Landesk.
Yeah, just to be,
Logarithm.
this is just naming a few.
McAfee.
Obviously, this
Yeah,
is not,
blimey.
this is not the whole kit and caboodle. They owned a lot more. They own or have large investments, I should say, in a lot more organisations than I
Oh,
should give them credit for.
SolarWinds, Sonic Wall, Sophos. Blimey. They do
Yeah,
own a
a
fair
lot of
bit.
firms that we're familiar with in the space, and if you're listening to the podcast and you work in tech, probably familiar to you two, not you two. They probably don't know you two.
Yeah.
You as well. But yeah, so in quite a large investment here. So I doubt much is going to change here from
No.
day to day for Ping, but it is a very large investment.
And obviously,
This, as
Ping
you
will be going private once the acquisition is completed.
Yeah, I was just going to say this definitely going to take it out of the market, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as you say, this is a massive investment into identity. And
Yeah.
was it Thoma Bravo partner? Great name here, Chip Verning, who
Yep.
stated that they forecast that this is part of a $50 billion enterprise identity security solutions market. Well, they want a slice of that pie, don't they?
Oh, of
So.
course they do.
Yeah, and the CEO of Ping, Andre Durand, stated that identity security, the frictionless user experiences have become essential in a digital-first economy. And Ping Identity is better positioned than ever to capitalize on the growing demand from modern enterprises for robust security solutions. What you're also stating here is that you run out of money and you can't compete with Okta and Microsoft.
Yeah, but I mean, Ping and SailPoint operate in very different markets to
They do.
Okta for a start. Okta generally have the SMB and the mid market, whereas Ping is the more enterprise, and SailPoint are more, I suppose, highly regulated industries, that kind of stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I think you can argue that Okta do have quite a few enterprise customers.
Oh, they do, but predominantly they aim at the lower end. But yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely certainly have enterprise ones. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I won't state who I work for, but yes, they certainly use that as well. I mean,
Our
but
company also uses Okta.
but what's interesting to see, did you see that the Ping shareholders are like $28.5 in cash for each of their shares,
Oh,
which
nice.
was a 63% premium on
That's not
the
bad.
on the last day of trading before the announcement.
That's a hefty return.
That's not about return. I'd like a return like that on some of the shares I've got, but that's not going to happen.
To like to make a return on some of the shares you've
Yeah,
got, yeah?
very, very true, very true. Right then, let's keep things moving then. Before
Yeah.
we get into the rumor mill, then let's talk about the AMD 7 series, which or 7000 series, I should say. Sorry,
Yeah.
which are codenamed, is it Raphael? That's the right, isn't it? Right
Raphael,
codename? Yeah,
indeed. They
where's
are.
Leonardo, Donatello, and sorry.
They're coming along shortly, I'm sure. So these are due to have an official announcement at the end of this month and be available, I think, on the 15th of September is what we've heard. But obviously, with it being that close, the leaks are coming thick and fast. So looking at some decent performance increases. The headlines are, 8 to 10% IPC uplift, 50% plus on single threaded, 35% plus on multi threaded, and 25% plus performance watt. Intel, take note. You're getting that from higher clock speeds, double the L2 cache. Obviously, the move to DDR5 with what AMD are calling their Expo memory tech, which is, but it's their version of, is it XAMP? The memory overclocking tech.
Yes, I was having to think about. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Obviously, PCIe Gen 5 moved from 7 nanometer down to 5 nanometer, which I'm sure is helping with the performance per watt. But of course, you are going to get a higher TDP, but thankfully not Intel high. I mean, they're saying a max of 170 watt. I mean, we were discussing offline. I don't think we talked this online. There was some news about Intel's their i9 13900K Raptor Late one, which is clocking at 345 watts max, which is insane. I mean,
That
170
is
watt
nuts.
is nuts. 170 watt is still quite a lot, considering what's their current top end, 5950X.
Yeah,
That's tipped at 105 watts. So there is a chunk up, but you are getting a lot more
but
performance
I was to
for
say
it.
we're not into Intel. We're
not
into
not
Intel
even
territory.
current gen or last
What
gen
was
Intel yet.
what was what were we talk? We were talking about the other day. You might have talked about it. I can't remember. What was the TDP on that Intel chip that we were talking about the other day?
345 watts.
That was it. It's almost
Yeah.
double, isn't it? It's nuts.
Yeah,
You know.
345 watts is insane. But I mean, they are looking good. And I think the single, I'm not going to question AMD's multi-threaded performance. It's just king. Currently still king. And I think it will be after this, definitely. But the single core performance hasn't been as good because it can clock as high. But I mean, these new ones looking pretty good. I mean, if you take even the bottom one they've announced that we've seen so far, the Ryzen 5 7600X, that's showing us what? 6 cores, 12 threads, pretty standard. Base clock of 4.7 gigahertz and turbo to 5.3. But that goes all the way up to the top one where it can turbo to 5.7 gigahertz.
It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what that's single. That's probably just 1 or 2 cores at once. That's not all cores, I imagine. I don't have those kind of details. But yeah, I mean,
that top end
Yeah.
7950 was that 16
So
cores,
the same as their 59.
Yeah.
5950. So yeah, 16 cores, 32 threads, but yeah, base of 4.5 and a turbo of 5.7.
I got to be
80
honest with
meg
you.
cache as well.
Well, I was just going to say the cache is high. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I'm quite tempted by the 7900X with the 12/24, and that's still got 76 meg of cache. I mean, that's not exactly,
yeah. I mean, that's
shy
basically. I've got the 3900X, so that's two new generations. So I'm even tempted to jump on board the new one.
It does look very good. I'm not worried about a 5.6 gig limit. 4.7 is perfectly adequate, but it's just
DCS though, mate. 5.6 gigahertz single core and DCS might actually make it playable.
It also might cook my computer, but
yeah, I'm not promising anything, listeners. Don't take my word for that one. It might not still be playable.
It might not still play after all. Optimization, but yeah, fair point. But no. I just say, and I know we were talking, offline about these. It just becomes a more compelling argument for AMD every day at the moment, unless you
especially
specifically
with the cost of electricity.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Intel, and I personally still believe that Intel chips are fantastic. But
definitely,
for the same bang for buck approach here, AMD are offering just as good, if not better. I don't think. I don't think there's any issues here. And playing nice with your NVIDIA graphics card's not going to be a problem. Okay, you're not going to get the whole, integrated memory piece that they talked about, didn't they, with the Radeons and that. But actually, for the around 600 US for the 7900X. Now again, that's a guesstimate on pricing. It's a good place to be, and like you say, even if you're kind of midpoint, what's the midpoint? 7800X, isn't it, I think?
I mean, it's still
the
8
7800
threads, so
that's what I mean. If you go for the 77, there's still 8 core, 16 threads. You're still getting the price made cash.
$100.
Yeah, great chip, absolutely great chip. But
so
we
how many
won't
cores
see
have you got in yours at the moment? 6.
Yeah. And that's not a 612. That's not 6. That's 6.
Oh, there's no hyperthreading on that one. That's just 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'll be a nice upgrade for you then.
It will be indeed, but we won't find anything out. I mean, so is it the end of the month?
Well, the end of this month officially, and we should be able to buy on. Well, I say buy loosely on September the 15th.
Well, I need to get. Well, basically, then they also need to release some new motherboards for it and give me some pricing for DDR5. So do I go
coming down in price? So
do I go? Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know whether I go 64 gig this time.
Depends what kind of motherboard you're getting. Are you going to get an ATX or is it mini ATX? Depending on how many memory slots you've got, 2 or 4.
I'm gonna go big. So the mine at the moment is an M-ATX. Remember we had this problem.
Yeah, I went ATX this time. Yeah.
I've only got 2 slots. Graphics card, and then there's the PC. So I'm going to go full ATX this time, which I know is going to be a bit, but I've got to put in a graphics card. I need to put a 10 gig Ethernet card in there as well.
Yep.
And I want to go. I'm thinking 64 gig of RAM to give me a bit more.
Maybe start with 32 gig. Just get them 16 gig modules.
Well,
so take 2 slots with 2 16s, 32. You can grab another 32 later if needed.
I could do, but if I win the lottery, who cares?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, exactly. You'll be buying yourself that 4090, yeah.
Definitely.
Or the Titan,
definitely.
sorry, the 4000 Titan, the Titan.
In SLI, yeah.
In SLI, yeah.
so then let's Uh, before we move into the tech wrap rumor mill, which actually this is not in the rumor mill. Actually, I'm just double checking.
Well, it
So we've
wasn't in the
got
rumor mill last week, so yeah.
so best not. So then we've got another update then from the AR VR headset from our good friends over at Cupertino, but this
Yeah.
one doesn't come from the Gurmanator. Instead, we've got a news story from Front Page
Whoa.
Tech, which
Yeah.
Meeting Quo, but on via Front Page Tech,
Yep.
who I thought they'd gone a bit quiet of John Prosser, but
Mr. Prosser.
he's been updating his website. You're telling me.
Yeah. They got new ones and stuff. He's still doing lots of videos. I still watch his videos. He's hilarious. Can't take him too seriously, but yeah, he started putting a lot more on his website now as well. So it comes into my RSS feed, and I picked it up for the news. But yeah, he's saying that quote. It's put out a new research note, and it gives more detail on the upcoming VR headset. He's confirmed it's definitely coming in January 2023. Make of that what you will. But he's only expecting Apple to ship up to 1.5 million units. That's quite a low number for Apple to be shipping stuff. But there's a reason for that, though, isn't there, Jay?
Well, yes, that might be the
uh,
fact of the price, perhaps.
well, we have speculated a fair few times that this is not going to be cheap, and we even chucked some figures out there. We reckon we're not far off. I mean,
No, we
Quo
weren't
is
far off because
saying what
best part
2
of
to
two and a half,
2.5k.
yeah. And let's be realistic here. If the estimate is 2 to 2,500, the
It's
reality
going
is
to be two and a
probably
half.
higher.
Yeah.
It is a lot of money. But this is Apple. They don't do things by halves, and if they
No.
want to, they want to make it a premium experience. We've already talked about that before. They are, Meeting Quo's mentioned before about the supposed second version of the what's it called,
Which is
the
already in
headset,
development, apparently. Yeah.
which will be a more budget is not the right word, but a lower priced option. um, but again, it's no different to what they've done, with some of the iPads, isn't it? You look at the high end version. You've got, if you want an iPad Pro, you can have an M1 all singing or dancing, but you could
Yeah.
also buy a standard iPad that does basically
That's the job.
99% of the same things, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's going to be no different with these VR headsets. There'll be a big bang approach, followed by I don't know what I was doing there. Peppa Pig, bing bang bong.
Yeah.
Followed by the more entry level, I guess, wider
I
uptake
mean,
version of it.
consumer versions. I mean, this is very much not a consumer product.
No.
No, unless you're a rich consumer, a very rich consumer.
Prosumer.
I'm guessing a prosumer, but I'm guessing you're going to need is this self-contained? I can't remember where we were on that. I think this is
I think
self-contained,
we're
isn't it,
unsure.
with an
We
M1
were
chip?
the initial ones. I think the first versions will be self-contained, M1 powered.
Yeah.
This is the other argument, wasn't it? What the hell is running in it? Versus the later
You're going to get a hot
generation ones.
head.
The later generation ones that apparently will require the iPhone connection.
Yeah, the consumer ones are more budget friendly, as we say. They're going to be powered by something else you've already got, like your iPhone.
Yeah, and the later ones, if you're going to be powered by the iPhone, at that point, I suspect the iPhone's probably going to have an M1 chip itself, isn't it? At that stage of the game.
Imagine so, or some derivative of it. Yeah, M2 for mobile or whatever.
Indeed. Well, on that note, then I think it's time for the tech ramp rumor mill. Then we've got two stories this week, and yes, both are Apple ones. I'm sorry, but it's Apple season.
It's getting to that time of the year. We're what, less than 4 weeks away from the September event.
Yeah, it's absolute Apple season. So
Yep.
let's
start off. What we got? We got Gurman. And it's a power. He did an interview. Sorry, this was picked up. So he's got some more tidbits on things like M1 Mac Pro. He's already saying that this was ready to go months ago, but they scrapped it, put it on hold, and they're actually going to re-engineer it with an M2 version now. As it just doesn't make sense to release a M1 Mac Pro super duper chip or whatever.
No, and it was also, I did read something else around this, that also they didn't want to cannibalize their supply chain as well for this product, given that they wanted to ensure that there was a better run on M2 chips and MacBook Pros, as opposed to dedicating time and effort into releasing this product, which ultimately is a niche product, isn't it?
Exactly. And he's saying it's going to be announced at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a December event, but released 2023.
The M2 thing, though, is really, really odd, because the way Apple are positioning the M2, that it's a massive, isn't it, uptake from the M1. But what we're
Yeah.
also seeing, though, is a real mixed bag of performance now, aren't we, from reviewers who are saying that actually
But
it's an incremental upgrade.
it
And
is, and it's
I'm not
worse in
talking
some
about the NAND chips,
cases.
though.
And
The
say
NAND
worse
chips
in some
is,
cases because of the SSD. If you've got the cheap end version.
yeah, so that's a massive issue, and we're all well aware of that. They're running single NAND chips. Performance is rubbish because we're, the write read times plus the fact that it's paging virtual memory. That's different. But I think what we're saying is some of the other ones where you're not seeing that, the performance increases aren't quite the improvement that maybe Apple are saying. But let's be fair, that's probably to be expected. M1 was such a sea change that what you can't bring out an M2 chip and make it even blow those out, because then you've just killed a whole generation of machines off within 1 year. Which, let's be honest, Apple are good at doing that, but also that doesn't do them any favors, really, does it, in the long run?
No, it doesn't. And I mean, it's incremental, as you said. I would just love them to concentrate on I/O, because the I/O limitations have not changed since the M1. I thought they would fix that in the M2 because the M1 was the first one. They'd get their ducks in order, sort that out on the M2. You could have more than 2 monitors without doing weird convoluted stuff, and obviously without paying for an Ultra or Max chip. But no, the same limitations still apply. Maybe M3.
I would. That wouldn't surprise me, that if M3 was a bit like the Intel TikTok, their strategy where TOC was big, wasn't it? So you'd have an incremental upgrade followed by a big revision review, wouldn't it? So then that would have like a new what's the word? The new pins, new socket. You'd have an increase on the cores or whatever. You'd see a real change in the architecture. And I wonder whether, like you say, Apple will do something similar. But this new M2 Mac Pro, then, so we're talking now these M2 Ultras. M2 Extreme is the chip that they're kind of
alleged one, which is what? Is that 2 Ultras?
2 Ultras, God,
two. Right, so what's the order again? We get the Pro, the Max, the Ultra, don't we?
Yes, that's correct.
Or is it Ultra Max? I can remember which one's the
Pro,
top.
No,
the
it's
Ultras...
Pro, Max, Ultra.
Ultra's the top. So it's allegedly 2 of these, or is it 4 of these?
Yeah, 2 of those. So if you remember, the Ultra is 2 M1 Maxes, basically on the same die, isn't it? And then they're suspecting that the Extreme will be 2 Ultras. So if you're almost looking at 4 CPUs. That makes if you think of four dies, isn't it? Yeah. So we can just keep doing this. But we also rumored that the M1, so as you say, the Mac Mini is also looking at a redesign, but nothing massive. So same form factor, but perhaps slightly bigger chassis in line with the Studio. But I think Gurman said that he didn't think it would be as big as the Studio, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but this is it. So, the current the current Mac Pro has lots of PCI Express slots for expandability. You can add dedicated cards in there, graphics, etc. Are we going to see that? Are we going to see actually any PCI Express slots that you could plug a NVIDIA or an AMD GPU into, a professional graphics card for professional work?
No, you're not, and know you're not. That.
I mean, so it's not even going to be as expandable as the trash can Mac Pro.
I'm sorry to say this, but for all of the fanfare of Apple, they're arguing, they're not going to do it because you can't do it because of the I/O issues. Again, you can't. As far as I'm aware, there's no support for any external peripherals, are there, with the M1 architecture?
No. So we've been waiting so long. I think at this point we're going to be disappointed.
I think we are.
No, it's going to be an amazing machine. Sorry, it's going to be an amazing machine. But for the people it's actually intended for, the true professionals, I think there's going to be disappointment.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it'll be a massive fanfare. It'll come out. It'll be amazing performance. Really will be a game changer. But it'll be a niche product like the trash can that will satisfy the real hardcore fanboys. But as you say, the professionals will be like, "Okay, this is great, but how's this going to last me 5 years?"
Yeah.
I
mean, even things like you're in the film industry, the TV industry, or whatever. Film production, you'll be like, right, I've got an SDI card, capture card for capturing my video from cameras and stuff. You're not going to plug one of those in.
Exactly.
Which you could do in the current Mac Pro.
Yeah, and that's the thing, But Apple could surprise us.
Could do.
They could surprise us. Will they? That's a different. that's a.
Don't know.
That's
Don't know. We will
that's
see
a
come
different
December
point.
then, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so
What else was
what
he
else we got
saying?
then?
Yeah, he was also saying that the iMac Pro is still, they're still going to get an iMac Pro apparently. It's been in active development. It'll be sometime next year. I'm not convinced about that
I'm
one,
not convinced
but
of that either.
no,
I'm not
okay.
convinced.
But yeah,
I think
the next
studio's
rumor,
killed
the
that.
next rumor. We'll move on. I think that's dead. You're right. The studio with the studio display has killed that one. So the next one coming, who's this coming from? This is coming from some canned renders or drawings, sorry, which were received by My Smart Price. I don't know who they are.
No, never heard
so
of this. Yeah.
take for grain of salt, but they look really. So these are for the new iPad, the entry level iPad. Basically, looks like Apple are finally modernizing the design. It's going to have the same square edge design as the Mini and the Pro, so bringing it into that same design ethos. And it looks actually like a large Mini, a large iPad Mini. It's got a camera bump with a flash, quad speakers. Well, it's a Cadron, so I don't know if they're quad speakers, but there's quad grills anyway. But bizarrely, it's got what looks like a small home button.
Well, I'm glad you spotted that because I did as well. And yeah, you're right. Just I guess to take a step back, the design ethos has definitely moved to the iPad Mini style, hasn't it? Which is the squared edges, the chamfered edges, isn't it? The whole design.
Same as the Pro. It's the same as all the other iPads.
So we've seen that. That's it. Also, the I don't know if you're holding the iPad in a portrait mode, with the home button at the bottom. I guess the left and right bezels, the long bezels, are much thinner now as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Kind of give you more screen estate, but the top end slightly wider with a camera bump, so there's no notch. The camera's in its own chassis.
Yeah. You've got camera no Face ID or anything like that. Same as Mini. Yeah.
The camera arrangement on the back looks like the low end iPhone camera as well.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely a home button, and home button volume controls on the side. Not sure. I'm guessing whether that's Touch ID. I would be surprised if it's Touch ID. If I'm honest with you,
not the home button.
Well, yeah. Why have they not put it in the power button? That's what I'm getting.
Like the Air and the Mini. Yeah, it's a bit weird to have the home button. I don't know whether that's just Apple.
And we're not sure either, are we? We're not sure whether or not it's USB-C or Lightning from that. And John Prosser and Front Page Tech also state that as well. They're not entirely sure. Though according to My Smart Price, they in the article state that they think it could be USB-C, which actually would make sense given if this is due to release when it's meant to release.
But yes, it makes sense for Apple to put USB-C on. But is this an M1 powered device or is this a powered device? And will that have have I seen any A powered devices with USB-C?
Good question. It doesn't mean they can't do it.
No, because you've got an iPad Pro, but yours isn't an M1. Yours is an A series, isn't it?
Mine's A series.
Is that Lightning?
No, it's USB-C because it's.
It is USB-C. Sorry,
mine's the first year they did it, the 2018 model.
Okay, so it's still got the A chip, but it's got. Okay, so they can do it. Then I just wasn't sure if there was some limitation there.
The A said, I think mine's the A12. Is it X or Z? I can't remember which one it is.
Which was the same chip that was in the test kits for the new M1 stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we know that can run Mac OS. And it's also just near enough not quite as powerful as entry-level M1, but it's not far off it. Obviously, M1 has a lot more. The memory and storage is different, but my argument here is though, why would they put an M1 in it? Because that would just then kill off. You'd then have exactly the same device as an iPad Mini Air, but a rubbish chassis.
Yeah.
This is where Apple is going to have real problems soon, unless they start hobbling the chips, because you've got a baseline of chip, the M1 is just say, baseline 8 gig, was it 128 or 256? Can't remember now. You've got, what do? Do you start hobbling the cores in it? Do you start slowing it down and throttling it? How do you differentiate that from the other models? It's a bit like, I guess
the general consumer won't care.
Yeah. Well, no. If you make it cheap enough.
Yeah, they'll buy it.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, I'm pleased to see that they're bringing it in line with the rest of the design that we have there. I not going to buy one. I don't. I'm quite happy with what I've got. I will be buying.
I might.
think I will.
Not for myself, but my wife's got, I think, a 2017
Oh, that's
original
definitely due
iPad.
for upgrade then. Yeah.
It's getting, yeah. I mean, it's still quick and enough-ish most of the time. The home button's beginning to wear out on that one. It's not silky smooth when you click it anymore. It's quite rough. I mean, it could just need to clean out. But yeah, I might buy one Christmas maybe.
Well, I mean, talking of upgrades, just a kind of slight divergence. My in-laws have both got the iPhone SE, the first generation ones,
Okay,
and
yeah.
it only runs iOS 12.5, won't go any higher. And I had to have the conversation the other day because some of the apps they use popped up saying that they will no longer support or develop for anything less than iOS 13.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like, I think you need to upgrade your phones, and they were like, okay. So yeah, but no, good. I think it's good to see it. My iPad, the 2018 model, my Pro, I'd like to upgrade it to M1, but I haven't got a compelling reason apart from the trackpad and keyboard. So we'll see.
See, I've got the previous generation iPad Pro to that, the first 10.5 iPad Pro, and it's getting a bit long in the tooth now.
That definitely is.
Upgrade. I need to upgrade. It still looks like the original iPad. It looks identical to my wife's iPad.
Yeah, there's no differentiation.
No, it doesn't. Other than it's a little larger, so I could do with it. But do I use it enough at this point to spend best part of $1,000 on an iPad Pro?
Oh, don't.
No. I'm on the fence at the moment.
Well, on that point, then, I guess that's a good place for us to close out for today, then. We'll be back then next week for episode 100, where we will try and find some interesting stories for you. I'm sure we will. Maybe throw in a couple of surprises where we can. But, of course, you can find us online at techrant.online for all of our show notes information. And we're on Twitter at weeklytechrant. And wherever you find your podcast, if you're listening to this now, fantastic. Tell your friends about it, share, like, give us your comments, and all of the above. I've been Jay.
I've been Carl. Have a good day, everyone.